Alright, we left off last time. We were on about page 8 of that second Ray Wenderlich Swift tutorial. And what I'm going to do for the majority of class today is just go through what he's done in the rest of this tutorial and do it in both ways that he shows that it can be done. Again, if you're watching this on tape, what you're seeing is the actual tutorial itself, not what the class is seeing. The class is seeing it on screen. All right, we've talked about this before. Okay, all right. So again, I want to go through the material connecting your view controller to your views, which we did last time. But I want to go through both ways of doing it, and then connecting your actions to the view controller. Again, both ways of doing it. And that'll bring us to page 11 of 13 in here. It says we're almost done. All we have to do now is hook the view controller to the model. So we'll get into that hopefully by the end of the period. All right. And I will leave this up to you. You know, I don't think, I think that'll take us most of the period. As far as Wednesday goes, we can go over the next tutorial if you want to, but I don't think we'll have a chance to finish it. It's like this one, it's about 13 pages long. So what I thought of doing was just going over it myself, going over all the stuff that's in it, and putting that out there as a tape, and then just making Wednesday a lab day. Anybody have a problem with that? Also, as always, and I know it seems like you just did it, but if between now and Wednesday, if you could please do course evaluations for any and all classes you have with me. The envelope is back there. People have started doing them, but as always, it's very light. All right. And this is your chance to say anything you want to say about the machines in this room or whatever. Couple things, updates on that. This morning I was walking down the hall and the CIO, Mary Scholler, stopped me and said, we're still set for our meeting on Wednesday, right? And I said, yeah. And I told her what I wanted to have. I said, is Terry Prindle going to be at that meeting? And she said, yes, he is. And I said, good. I said, what I'd like to have you do, and I explained to her about provisioning these machines to run Swift on them. And she said, well, what does that entail? And I said, that entails us copying OS X Yosemite over to these machines and Xcode 6 to these machines. And she said, what else? And I said, not much. She said, do we have a registered copy of OS X Yosemite? I said, I do. And she said, good. She said, well, what's the downside of doing this? And I said, I'm not going to lie to you because I don't want to lie to her. I said, technically doing this is illegal because Apple does not want you to run their product on non-Apple machines. That makes sense? That said, there are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people worldwide doing it. And they know that. They know it. Yeah. But they know it, and to my knowledge, they have never prosecuted anyone. If they were to do that, they would first go after the school and then probably me. All right? I have nothing, so I'm not really worried about it. And I don't think the school really has what they'd be willing, you know, but what I said was worst case scenario, they try to do this and for some reason it doesn't work. Whatever the reason is. Then we go back to using the machines that you've got right now. And then what she said next surprised me because this is the person who told me that these Macs must stay in this room. She said, what if you sign them out to students? And I said, I ain't going down that road. She said, what do you mean? I said, first of all, we might have 12 students, up to 12 students in the class, and we have only 6 machines. So that isn't fair to begin with. And I said, second thing is, what if, you know, some of the people who are in this class, you know who you are, but you'll come and then I don't see you for a bit. And what if one of those people took a machine and then was gone for a good month? Then that machine is out of commission. That's why I just don't want to do that. All right? Okay. So, like I said, what I want to do is go over this connecting your view controller to your views, the 2 different ways of doing it, and then connecting actions to your view controller, the 2 different ways of doing it. Yes? No, that's what you'd get. If he is able to do this, you're going to have a second virtual machine. He can't put it onto your regular virtual machine. That won't work. That I don't know. I can ask him that. Yeah, I can ask him that. But again, that technically isn't fair because that supposes that every single person in this class has a machine at their disposal that's their own machine. And you know what? Even if that's the case, even if everyone does, I know that there are people that have really bad connection, really bad internet connection, if any connection at all, etc. And that's not really fair to everybody to do that. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying, and the thing is, I will ask Terry if we do that. You know, I mean, we have to come up with a way that you'll be able to get to that virtual desktop from home also. You know what I'm saying? But otherwise, it doesn't make much sense to even be doing this. But I'll see what he says. All right. Like I said, I'm supposed to meet with him on Wednesday. All right. So what we did last time was we came in, and what you see right here, these lines that we have right there that are in gray, hopefully everybody can see those. Those are our 4 IB outlets that we added. Everybody remember that? You may or may not have done it, but whether you did or not, look on the screen. Because now mine are gone. I just removed them because I'm going to add them the other way that they talk about doing in here. So on page 8, they say to do this, add the following properties to your view class controller. And that's what we did, was we added those lines. It says here you are declaring 4 variables just as you learned in the first Swift tutorial. 2 of them are one is type UI text field, one is a UI slider, one is a UI label, one is a UI text view. It says there's only 2 differences. We are prefixing these with the @IB outlet, and they mention interface builder, sometimes called IB, scans your code looking for any properties in your view controller prefixed with this keyword. It exposes them so it discovers any properties so you can connect them to views. Second, after each one of the field types, we put an exclamation point, which means we are implicitly unwrapping these. As they mentioned, this is a fancy way of saying you can write code assuming that they are set, and your app will crash if they are not set. So you are then responsible for making sure there's a value in each one of those things. All right, and if there isn't, the program's going to blow up. Does that make sense to everyone? Yes. Okay. Then remember we did this last time. This was towards the end. That they said to open up the main storyboard and open up the connections inspector and drag from that circle, you know, etc. Well, then afterwards, again, I'm on page 9, about a third of the way down. The author says, note, there is another even easier way to connect views to properties. All right. So he says, note, there's another even easier way to connect views to properties in your view controller. It says, while you have the main storyboard open. So I'll open up the main storyboard. There's the navigation controller, and someplace in there. Yeah. That's the navigation controller. In fact, according to that, that's all that I've got in here right now. Okay? So, I'm going to do what they tell you to do here. Okay? All right. They tell you to come up, and with your main storyboard open, they tell you to open up the Assistant Editor, which, again, we can do with View, Assistant Editor, Show Assistant Editor. There it is. Okay. It says make sure the Assistant Editor is set to display your view controller Swift code. Well, as far as I can tell, it is. All right. It says then you can control drag from your view into the Assistant Editor right before the view did load property, okay? It says in the pop-up that appears, you should enter a name for a property to create and then click connect. I think what happened was I screwed up by going in here and removing that stuff that was here. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to do an Xcode, I'm going to do a file, close, project, and when it says do I want to save, no, I bet you it's saved anyway, but I never tried to run it, so technically it should not have saved. So let's see. Nope, it did save. Fantastic. All right, let's go back and add them the first way that we did it, okay? So I'm looking down here. And I want yeah. All right. So they are still here. They're right there. Okay? Now, I see no reason why I shouldn't be able to go and remove those and then put them in the other way that they're talking about. That's what I tried to just do. So when I highlighted them, the problem was when I went over to the storyboard over here and I tried to bring up the actual storyboard, it wasn't showing me anything but my navigation controller. All right? And I thought it should show me down here the regular storyboard also, but I don't see it. So right here, yeah, this looks like this looks old school. The stuff that I see underneath here. But think about it. The view controller, what it has to do here is it had, you know, let's just start this all over. All right. The stuff that you see up there, what the author asked you to do was to manually put that in. All right. After you manually put that in, then he asked you to come over to your connection inspector, which, as you know, is over here. So there was the connection inspector. Would you ever have just one of those days where you kind of just wish you just stayed in bed? Right here? But I want to come over here and I want to view and I want it to show that's a good question. Because it wasn't the other day. But this is what we wanted, was we wanted to bring that up. Nope. I want this to work. If that means I stop right now and I recreate the whole project, then that's what it means. Then I'll stop right now and recreate the whole project. Yeah. must have been Kelly and Zach that lost their view control. All right, so I'm just going to go back and I'm going to create a new project and start it all from scratch. Because what I want to be able to do is save this, get this all done, and put it out there. All right, so yes. Yeah. Well, something's going on. Well, actually, with what we did last time, I saved where we had finished up last time, and I think I saved that out to the P drive at the end of class. That was 12.3. Yeah, so I think I have it right here. Okay, I just copied mine over. I just copied mine over. So I want to see if, and this was from, I saved it from Thursday. So I had done it Wednesday and then came back and saved it Thursday. So this should be the latest and greatest, as they say. So let's see. All right. I guess that at least what's up there, as far as I can tell, looks okay. Now, if you remember what we did before, how we had created these things earlier. So I should be able to do this. Again, if this screws it up, then I'm not going to try it again. But if I highlight all of this stuff, this is the stuff that we added, right? All right. So I should be able to just hit delete, and nothing should change. And on here, nothing did change. All right. But notice that if I do come in, let me move this over a little. Try to. Come on. All right. So for example, if I come over here and I click on the slider, okay? Now I control click and drag. Would you please? And I drag right down here and let go. Now it comes up and it's showing me an outlet and it's asking me what I want to call this. Well, as you can see, it was called what? Tax PCT slider. All right, and connect. So there it created the first one for me. All right. So then, if I come over to the text box right there, or the text field, and I hold down on the control key, and I drag, that one was called what? Total text field. And I connect. All right, there's my second one. Okay, then I need to do the label. Yeah, I think that's right here, isn't it? So again, hold down on control, drag, let go, and this one was tax PCT label. Connect, and then finally we had the final total, I believe, right? And where is that? That's this thing. Okay, so again we'll control, drag, let go, and this is results text view, as Mark said. So hopefully what you notice as far as what I did was, now that's done it both ways, okay? And I didn't mean to make it that hard. There should have been no problem whatsoever the first time with me highlighting what I highlighted and hitting the delete key. All I can think of is I was highlighting too much stuff, okay? So that's how I somehow removed it. So we have now seen on page 8 one way that you can connect your view controller to your views, and on page 9 the other way of doing it. Okay? So next, middle part of page 9, just like you connected views to properties, you want to connect certain actions to your views. It says to do this, open up viewcontroller.swift and add these 3 new methods anywhere in your class. So if I come back up into viewcontroller.swift, okay, right here, I can add those 3. Now, if you look up on the screen here, on page 9, the author says, again, you can manually go in and key those in. That's what he talks about on the middle of page 9 to the bottom. Then he says, I'm on page 10. To make Interface Builder notice your new methods, you need to mark these methods with an IB action keyword. Do you all understand the difference between an IB outlet and an IB action? An IB outlet typically is something for which you want to connect up, but it's not anything you're going to directly put code into. All right? But when you look at what these 3 things in here are, calculate tap, tax percentage change, view tap, the IB actions are things for which you are going to associate code. All right? So the author tells you how to walk through these steps, and I could manually do it, but I want to do it the other way. All right? So again, down towards the bottom of page 10, the author says, just like with properties, there's a shortcut for connecting actions to methods using Interface Builder as well. You could simply control drag from something like a button into the Swift code for your view controller in the assistant editor. In the pop-up that appears, you'd select action and give it the name of your method. So the author says you can do that either way, but I guess he doesn't really show it on that one, so let's just follow his steps. All right, so I'm in viewcontroller.swift, and I'm going to add these 3 methods that he talks about right here. All right, so I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to add all 3 methods right down toward the bottom. Okay, so there's the first one. You hit enter a few more times here just so everybody can see it. Now, you're all smart enough to realize this, but I'm basically typing in the same thing 3 times. So I can keep typing or I can just copy, which is a cheesy way of doing it, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, whoop, and I hit build when I did, which I didn't want to do. So this is tax percentage changed. And the last one is view tapped. All right. So what I've just done, what I've shown you on the screen here, is I just went through the steps that are right here for those of you who might be watching this tape. God love you. All right. So the author says, when you declare callbacks for actions from views, they always need to have some signature. A function with no return value that takes a single parameter of type any object, all right, which is what we have here, which represents a class of any type. They mention that any object here is the equivalent of ID in Objective-C. Okay? All right. So I'm up to page 10. To make Interface Builder notice your new methods, you need to mark these methods with the IBAction keyword, which we did. Next, switch back to the main storyboard and make sure that your view controller is selected in the document outline. Make sure the connection inspector is open. All right, let's try doing all that stuff. So, switch back. Make sure that the main storyboard is open. Okay, there it is. Make sure that the connection inspector is open. That's right here. It's our 6th tab. It already is open. It says find the circle to the right of calculate tapped and drag it up to your calculate button. All right. And I'm not too proud to ask for any help. So here's the button. Okay. You will see new methods listed in a received action section. There it is. Okay? Find the circle to the right of calculate tapped. Well, am I missing it? All right, I'm going to click here on where it says new referencing outlet right there. And I'm going to control and go over to my button. And then let go. I want to see what this says. That doesn't look real good. Don't want that to say view. So that isn't correct. You all see what I'm trying to do, correct? Where was it? Click tips calculator where? Over here? At the top. All right. Cool. All right. What's that? There's calculate tapped. Right. Thank you. Thank you, Zach. All right. So we're going to control click and drag that over to our button. Let go. Thank you. And in the pop-up, choose touch up inside. Remember, which is like our button clicked event. Okay, so that's the first one. As it says, this is effectively saying when the user releases their finger from the screen, when over the button, call my method, calculate tapped. Now repeat this for the other two methods. Drag from tax percentage changed to the slider. There we go. Tax percentage changed right there. Hello. Control, click, and go up to the slider. Let go. And here we want to choose value changed. All right. Then finally we want to go from view tapped, which is down here, and we want to go up to our tap gesture recognizer in the document outline. So someplace up here, there, see that? There's our tap gesture recognizer. I'm going to kill myself yet. Right here. All right. Somehow I don't think it's going to like that. Says there are no actions to choose from. Your method simply will be called when the recognizer is triggered. Okay, so that's done. That moves us to page 11. On page 11, the author says, you're almost done. All you have to do now is hook your view controller to your model. Open viewcontroller.swift and add a property for the model to your class to refresh the UI. All right. So here's our view controller Swift. I'm going to go back up near the top. Go to the end of this line and hit enter. And let tipcalc equal tip calculator model. .25, 0.06. think it's all okay now. So I put all the code that you see down toward the bottom of page 11 in the handout. Then after they put in this code here, the author says, let's go over the line at a time. All right. So it says step 1, which is the total text field dot text equals string format %.02f tipcalc dot total. It says in Swift you must be explicit when converting one type to another. Here we're converting our tip calculator total from a double to a string so that we're able to display it. Second, for the tax percentage slider value, you want the percentage to be displayed as an integer, 0%, etc., rather than 0.06, and that's why we multiply it there by 100. The cast is necessary because the tax percentage value property is by default a float. Then next, where we've got the tax percentage label.text, here we're using string interpolation to update the label based on the tax percentage. And then finally, we cleared the results text view to the empty string. All right. It says next, add a call to refresh UI at the bottom of view did load. Okay. It says tax percentage changed. Oops, I'm sorry. Also implement the tax percentage changed and view tapped as follows. So the stuff that we'd added previously. So the tax percentage changed, which is right here. This is on the bottom of page 11. As it says, tax percentage change simply reverses the multiply by 100 behavior that we did earlier by now dividing it by 100. All right. View tapped calls resign first responder, which dismisses the keyboard. So the only thing that's left, and this is on page 12 in the handout, is right there. So we are supposed to put in the code for calculate tapped, and there's about 5 lines that take up the top of page 12. I'm going to put those in right now, and then we'll go over them. looking up at the screen right now. The author then, on the bottom half of page 12, explains this line by line and says that first line that you see there that says tipcalc.total equals double, paren, total field dot text is ns string, paren dot double value paren. It says here you need to convert a string to a double. This is a bit of a hack to do this. It says hopefully there will be an easier way of doing it in the future. Then line 2 where it says let possible tips equal tipcalc.return value possible tips. Here we're calling the return possible tips method on the tipcalc model, which returns the dictionary that contains our possible tip values mapped to tip values. All right. Then we've got the for loop. And the for loop enumerates through both the keys and the values of the dictionary at the same time. Then finally, inside of there we got results plus equals, and there's some interpolation that's taking place. We're building up the string to put the results, the values in the results text field. And then we set the results text equal to the string that we've been building. So they're saying save. Run it. Build failed. That's not always, never a good sign, huh? I didn't think there was anything that was an error here. Oh. Okay, when I had my func refresh UI, I forgot to put paren after it. So I added that. Let's see if now the build will succeed. It's always a good sign. In just a minute, I'm going to show you the newest email that I got from my publishing rep as the saga continues. All right. I think that's actually good news that he gave me, but we'll find out. Now, on the bottom of page 12, going on to page 13, the author mentions somebody in the forums asked how you would sort the results by tip percentage. I thought that was a great question, so I included the answer here. So he talks about replacing the for loop in step 3 with the code that you see on page 13. If this eventually comes up and runs, I'll try that. We'll see if it works then. Many thanks to Zach for finding that. Okay, and there we go. Now, is it pretty? No, it's functional. We'd have to go in and do some rounding and some other stuff, right? But it works, or at least it appears to work right now. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take everything that was in that code that was in there before, because this stuff works, and I'm going to just comment that out. Then I'm going to add the code that he puts on the top of page 13. Then when I get all done, I'm going to take what I'm working on here and I'm going to save that to the flash drive, put that out to a folder with today's date on it on the 152, 149 folder. All right? And the other thing that I wanted to show you, so I can do that and I can fix that stuff in just a second, but what I want to show you here, you'll have to tell me on these emails if I have shown you these or not. iPad 4? I did not know that. That isn't all of that that's involved in that. No, they actually claim you can put it on an iPad Mini. So if you can put it on a Mini, I don't know why you couldn't put it on an iPad 4. Yeah, yeah. All right, I'm going to switch for a second back to here. I think. So this is what I got from Max the other day. All right. It says, "Hi Jeff, please see the selected items in the email below." Guy said, "I pulled the in-stock and the Deitel Swift book up to the end of January. I can certainly send your prof a PDF of the completed chapters, but I'm a bit hesitant to permit him to distribute that to the students for fear they will redistribute it widely." Now, I think what he thinks is the person who wrote that thinks that we're at a university where this could be going out to hundreds of people. Okay? So he gives me this stuff. So I wrote back to him and I said, nicely, I think, "Hello Max, thanks for the update. FYI, we are probably talking about 10 to 12 students in the class. I would not see why any of these students, each of whom I trust totally, why any of these students would want to or have any need to redistribute any provided PDF material to others. All right? Rather, they were just hoping to have something to read during their Christmas break. That is, along with the Deitel Android text and the Ullman Ook PHP text that they already have for their other classes with me. Thanks again. Have a good weekend." He did not get back to me today. So my hope is he's going to turn around and say, yeah, just give him the PDF for the first 5 or whatever it is chapters. All right? And if he does that, I'm just going to give you a copy of that. All right? Or what I can do in lieu of that is I can print that stuff out and get copies made at the copy center. I don't know what you'd rather have. Yes. But the point is, if that book doesn't come out until February, what we'd be using, it sounds, I don't know. It's a great question. The problem that I have is I can't answer it because the stuff that I'm seeing is not even in PDF format. It's in the stuff I'd shown you before. It's in worse than PDF. So if I knew exactly how many pages they were talking about, I would guess if that's week 7, we'll at least be through 3 or 4 chapters. I would think. I don't know to be sure. No, but I agree. But that said, I would still like to be able to get through as much of it. I don't want to jam it down your throats, but I'd like to give you enough where if we go for 9 or 10 weeks, then the rest of the time you'll be able to try to build yourself something simple in it on your own. That's the idea behind it. So like I said, with this, let's see. No, not at all. No. So he's telling me that by the end of this, oh, okay, this is what he gave me. All right, if you look at this. He said, this is where it'll be at the end of December, this is where it'll be by mid-December, and this is what is available now. All right, so what's available now is the Swift in 24 hours, Sam Teach Yourself. So he's saying that's available now. Okay. Now, that's fine and dandy. If he can give me a PDF of that one, we'd have something we could go off of. See what I'm saying? Whether I can give you a copy of that or not, we'd at least have something. So now that I see that from him, because I misunderstood the email, I'm going to ask if he can send me a PDF of that now. Notice published not very long ago. All right. So then he says, by mid-December, this should be. That's another book, Swift for the Really Important, or really impatient, I should say. That's this one. Notice that date, December 19th. That's supposing that that doesn't slip. All right? And this book is available at the end of. And that's another one. You see, we have a synapse here. We are not connecting, me and him. What I want to find out from him is, hey, is there some book, whatever it is, I don't care which one of these it is, but is he willing to give me copies of one of these books, basically a PDF or something, so we've got something to use. That's what I want to know. I called him up this morning and left a detailed message because I wanted to ask him about something else. So I called him up this morning and asked him about that. And I thanked him for all the work he's done so far. I'm going to call him again. In fact, I'll go upstairs in just a minute, and I'm going to call him and say, hey, you know, what is exactly going on? What are we going to have available by the end of this week for this book? If he says nothing, then I'm going to say that really doesn't hack it. If I would have known this, I might have gone with another publisher. Yeah. All right. So, switching back to this, again, I'm going to go and make the changes that he shows on page 13 at the top of the page. All right, which finishes the second tutorial. Okay, like I said, I don't think there'll be enough time to go through that third tutorial. I will try to go through it myself and put something out there. Yes, I will try to do that as soon as I can. Okay. The other thing